It's the 12th day of April 2024, the war and Iran. Folks, I do get comments there and I'm very grateful for them. Make sure they're logical, and I do take into account what is said and any advice that's given. It's not that I face everybody down and all that. Most people are supportive of the channel and that. And it doesn't matter if you have something negative, it doesn't matter. Now, one of the things that I try to do is predict what's going to happen, and even use reverse psychology. If I think the government's going to do something stupid, I'll predict it in advance, and then they say, oh no, he knows what we're thinking about. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. But in any event, in the case of the war, as you know, you have the unfortunate war in the Ukraine, and it's the quagmire there, terrible loss of life, unbelievable loss of life. And then you have the war in Gaza and Israel and all of that. And you know the situation there. Now, I don't know what news you're getting, but somebody did comment when I said about Israel attacking the embassy in Damascus. Now, just to explain, you have Syria. We'll say that the sign is Syria. Iran is over here, and Israel's over here. Well, Syria joins Israel, and they had an embassy. Iran had an embassy in Damascus, which is, we'll say, here. Now, the embassy itself was not bombed. There was a big point made about that, but the consulate was. Now, in international law, the ground that is subject to diplomatic immunity is belonging to the country who has the mission there. So if you take the American embassy in Dublin, once you go inside that gate, now I won't tell you where the exact boundary is, but once you go in and into the building, you're on US property. You're on US property there. That's the United States runs that place. And it's the same with the French embassy or the British embassy or anything else. Now, Iran was one of the first countries to attack an embassy. They attacked the US embassy a way back at the time of the Ayatollah and all of that. That's another day's work. But anyway, the consulate is buildings attached to it, the area attached to it where there's attaches and different things like that. And it's also subject to full diplomatic immunity. The land it's on belongs to Iran, not to Syria, as long as that agreement on that mission exists. If Syria was going to put Iran out, they'd have to notify them, tell them to get out and change the rules, and then it goes back. But at the moment, the land underneath the consulate and the embassy is under the jurisdiction of Iran, and Israel bombed it and killed several high-level, I think they were Hamas, they were actually of that Hamas, Hezbollah, don't ask me, but they were the pro-Palestinian side and killed a good few in it. That's an act of war. That's a breach of international law. The Israelis undoubtedly saw that this was a massive kill. I'm not so sure if killing the leaders is that effective. The British killed the 1916 rising leaders, Patrick Pearse, Eamon Kant, James Connolly and all those, and who came up only Michael Collins. And he was, while the original ones were very, very honourable people and very dedicated, they weren't half as clever. Collins was 10 times more clever than anyone, and that's what happened there. He got up then, and they couldn't beat him at all. So the point is, I'm not so sure that works, but that's another day's work. They killed them anyway, and now there's a flurry of activity in the world. Iran has to respond. They can't let them away with it. But on the other hand, there is unbelievable pressure on Iran not to do anything too big. They might drop in 1 or 2 bombs or whatever, but none of them wants it. Even the Americans, I don't think the Iranians will listen to them, but they're warned, don't overdo it. The Russians know that this is not the time to go for this, and they're warning them. The Chinese realize that the whole shipping's been disrupted by the Houthi rebels in the Gulf, in the Red Sea, and it's a big thing. Now, I have identified something which I think is rather unique, and I love to do that, is that the Russians are now on the Golan Heights. So the Golan Heights are Syria, we'd say here. This is Israel, and the Golan Heights is an area high ground here. And it's belonged to Syria, but the Israelis used to put outlooks and posts on it. I personally believe that presence of the Russians there is a big game changer. Will the Israelis bomb the Russians? That'll be the thing I'd watch for. Now, also, I understand too, strangely, that Cyprus is joining with the Israelis to supply ammunition, guns, weapons, and food and all that to Israel. I don't know why Cyprus is doing that. Maybe somebody comment underneath. It's only by the way, anyway. Now, the thing is that the world is poised on an attack by Iran against Israel or Israeli property and all that. And that's likely to develop a situation where the Americans have to help Israel respond and attack Iran. Israel desperately wants a war between America and Iran to draw the fire away from them. President Biden has said that his support for Israel is ironclad. I don't know what Trump's policy is on it, but he was always very much pro-Israel. Bear in mind, folks, my job here is to bring you the news. I know there was a terrible attack on the 7th of October last and all of that, so I'm not taking sides here. And my job is to point out what changes have happened, how things have changed. Because we'll say 20 years ago, Israel had the upper hand in everything. But I think that things are changing. The fact that the Russians are in there and all of that is a difference. It's a change. We were watching it. But that's what we need to watch for. Will there be a colossal attack using high velocity missiles and all these things by Iran on Israel? Or what will they do? Or will they attack an Israeli embassy somewhere? Will they do that? For that reason, I would be afraid to go near anything to do with Israel at the moment. I wouldn't go into their embassy or anything else. Will that happen? We don't know, but I can tell you it's a very charged situation. It's a very dangerous situation, and I just want to be sure that I have my finger on the pulse, as the fellow said. I don't want any attack. I'd rather it didn't, but that this is likely to happen. It's a very, very dangerous situation, and the word nuclear is coming into it big time. Nuclear weapons, and they're all acquiring nuclear weapons. They kind of agree. Many of these countries that were trying to get them actually have them. And there's chemical dust and there's nuclear fallout and all that, and even near dirty bombs and all of that on the job. So that's it. Will it happen? I mean, they really, by attacking the consulate, I bet they'll be accurate, or somebody would say it's not the embassy, they really did draw fire on there. And it has changed international law in that a major country supported by the United States has backed and has done and backed the attack of an embassy, of a diplomatic mission. Now just think of that. The United States is fully behind the attack on a mission. And when the Iranians attacked the United States mission in Tehran years ago, everyone was on the side. That's a breach of international law, and now it's happening again. I think Israel went too far, but that's another day's work. Now, have I explained that to you fairly well? I know it mightn't come to happen, but you see, Iran is in this position. Do they chicken out, or what do they do? Or what do they do? I don't know. It's many observers claim that it's developing into a situation where Israel cannot really win. But I think what you will see happening is peace talks coming pretty soon. And on this will be the subject of hostage release. And I am horrified by hostages. They should have been let out long ago. There is a danger that there aren't many hostages left. That's a big problem. So that if Hamas, for example, is said, right, hand over there your 100 hostages, that they don't have 100 left. That's how cruel all this is. Now, there was an attack made on a car, on must be 2 cars the other day by Israel in Gaza. And one of the top leaders of Hamas, I think it is, one of those groups anyway, his 3 sons were killed in the car and 4 of his grandchildren, 3 daughters and a boy. They were travelling along. I don't want to be given military advice, but the Queen and the Duke and the Prince of Wales, they never travel in the one group. You never get King Charles and Prince William travelling in the one aircraft. I mean, you'd think at this stage people would know to stay apart. You only present one target. Having them all together shows that they're not that wise. But I don't want to be giving military advice. But the thing about it is that imagine that man lost 3 of his sons and 4 of his grandchildren, and he says that it won't change anything. But it just brings it home the cruelty of all of this. This is going on as long as I have been alive. As long as I have been alive, I'm not taking sides. I know that the Americans are concerned from the voters that some of the American voters may not support the Democrats over this. I don't know. But this is now the 12th. This is Friday, the 12th of April. It'll be, I just wonder now, in the next 4 days, will there be some serious attack? I think actually, folks, unfortunately, there probably will. Probably will. So that's it, folks. Bad news, not good news. We'll see you back for something else. Thank you very much. Bye.